Spider-Man and Mary Jane finally back together again. I'm excited. My feel spots are tingling. I'm over the moon. I'm super duper happy. And here to ruin that happiness for me with a cold dose of reality, or maybe even more cynicism than myself, is Doc. How you doing, Doc?
I want to be happy about this. I really do. I mean, it's a step in the right direction, yes, but it's also almost a full-blown guarantee that as long as the Ultimate Universe exists, Peter and Mary Jane will never end up back together in the 616.
Marvel recently announced that Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto will be the creative team on the new Ultimate Spider-Man ongoing series that launches in January as the first new series in Marvel's brand new take on the Ultimate Universe. And today, Marvel revealed the premise of the new series, and it will be about a married Spider-Man. The new Ultimate Spider-Man series will star an older version of Peter Parker, who is married to Mary Jane, and the couple will also have 2 children. And one of the unique aspects of this, we're also learning that this Peter Parker will not get his Spider-Man powers until he's in his 30s, and he's already a husband and father, so we won't be seeing like Mayday or powered up spider children in this one. Me personally, this is kind of what I wanted. I said, Marvel, please throw me a bone, and it feels like they're throwing me a bone. It's not in the 616, so I can understand some people being disappointed, but I think the 616 is just a highway to disappointment. And, Marco Cicchetto on a Spider-Man book, absolutely my wheelhouse. Peter Parker and Mary Jane, married finally again, that's what I'm looking for. Peter Parker and Mary Jane having 2 kids, even better. That's like the cherry on top for me.
And I can't disagree with any of that logic. But I just keep coming back to the fact that it's in a universe that doesn't matter. It's a comic book version of Blue Balls, kind of.
There's other things about this that are amazing. And for me, I'm a different comic kind of reader than you. You're fully immersed in the Marvel Comics universe, and that's why you stepped away, because it wasn't worth it anymore. But I've also invested myself in the DC universe and some of their side universes. I've invested fully in the Valiant universe when that was cool. I'm enjoying some of the ultra massive stuff. So I'm perfectly fine investing in a smaller universe that isn't going to go anywhere when it comes to events and prestige and importance as other universes. I'm cool with doing things smaller. And like the cool thing about this is I think Nick Lowe is absolutely spent as a group editor of Spider-Man. He's not editing this book. It's actually going to be done by Will Moss, the guy that's taking over for Brevoort on Avengers as a group editor there. And I think that's a great change, and I won't have to deal with Nick Lowe and a lot of his stupid ideas.
Well, yeah, that is probably the best part here. You're right. You are, and you know what? To the more casual reader, this will probably scratch that itch. It'll give you what you want. But for me, the reason why I love the Marvel universe and I love the Wildstorm universe was because it was all connected. It did matter.
In a press release from Marvel, Hickman added more details about the decision to make the star of this series a married Peter Parker and Mary Jane. When we decided we were going to do a book about an older Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, we really wanted to lean into him starting his superhero life from a very different place than that's traditionally expected. Peter and MJ being married is one of many decisions we made that underline this being a quite different kind of Spider-Man story. And I love Spider-Man, but I don't personally mind a little bit of an alternative version of Peter Parker if I get some of the stuff that I would. I wish this was like our traditional Peter Parker that became Spider-Man when he was like 15 years old and he, there was a radioactive spider and all that stuff. But if they have to change the origin with it a little bit, they have to come at this from a different perspective to maybe even justify the book's existence. If we're going to use Peter Parker, it's got to be a different slice of Peter Parker than we're showing the mainline series. I'm willing to accept that, even if I kind of would like it to be more in line with the Steve Ditko, Stan Lee Spider-Man, where I think this is, all the great stuff really originates.
I mean, I feel like this is an admission that we needed to do a different take on Spider-Man, so we're going to have him married. That's not a different take. That's the take everybody wants. That's the take that we used to have before they took it away. I like the idea of him getting his powers after he's already started a family and how it's going to throw that into turmoil. But at the same time, I fail to see how this logically makes sense. Peter, as a teenager, was very introverted, very angry, very...
he's kind of an a-hole.
He's very much an asshole. If it weren't for the powers and him having the ability to do something, then learning that lesson about power and responsibility because of the death of his uncle, and him actually having had the ability to stop it and not. Because they could still do the Uncle Ben thing and him dying, but if he's just regular old Peter Parker, he will just make himself and everyone around him the victim instead of, blaming himself and having that guilt that pushes him towards being a better person. He never would have done that, and that's what drew Mary Jane to him in the first place.
So obviously the motivation of the character is going to be different. I imagine they're going to take some swings with other changes. I don't know this, but hey, if I'm a writer and I want to differentiate this Spider-Man from the regular one in ASM, Uncle Ben's still alive, but Aunt May passed away earlier on. Throw it on its head a little bit.
Yeah, but I think at that point you can't do the power and responsibility thing anymore. You have to come up with a completely different motivation. And is Spider-Man still Spider-Man if he doesn't have that as his core? Great power, great responsibility. If it's something else, but he would have still had to lose somebody as a teenager in a way that he could have done something about it, but didn't. That kind of guilt making him want to be better is what turned weirdo, probable future school shooter Peter Parker into good man Peter Parker. That's the metamorphosis of the character and the change. Unless you come back with a Peter Parker that was never the shy, introverted nerd that.
Yeah, maybe he grew up with his parents. Maybe he didn't have that thing affect him when he was younger, and he grows up with a lot more self-confidence, and maybe he was the popular kid in school.
Yeah, you're going to have to really alter the origin of Peter Parker, but then you're getting into the whole, is that still even Spider-Man and Peter Parker? It's just a guy that happens to wear a costume.
Well, that's up to Jonathan Hickman to pull it off, right?
It really is. And now, my personal gripes with Jonathan Hickman aside, I think he's probably got the chops to do it.
Obviously, we react to things here on the channel well ahead of time, but there's a lot of different ways this could go. And we have very limited information, but a little recap. In the Marvel 616, Peter and Mary Jane were married for 20 years before 2007 storyline. One More Day eliminated their marriage with Peter and Mary Jane, making a deal with the demonic Mephisto to surrender their marriage in exchange for Mephisto saving the life of Peter's Aunt May, who had been shot by a bullet meant for Spider-Man, causing Peter to be driven nearly mad with guilt. This new Ultimate Spider-Man series is the biggest Marvel series featuring a married Peter and Mary Jane in over 15 years. What is it? Renew Your Vows?
Yeah.
Kind of sucked. I want a better take than that.
And I don't disagree. Renew Your Vows was terrible. It was poorly executed. And it was only one series that was in its own little pocket universe. All this is Renew Your Vows with better talent and with a couple of books that tie into it.
Hey, man, if you need me to take a leap of faith like I did with Batman White Knight, for Ultimate Spider-Man, I'm going to do it. And I enjoyed Batman White Knight. That's one of the better stories that's been created in the last 10 years from Marvel or DC. And that was in its own pocket universe with a different version of Batman that didn't act exactly like Batman, but I still enjoyed it because it was a good creator.
Absolutely. And I love the White Knight universe, but no one ever tried to sell me that they were giving me the thing that I wanted again and that this should satisfy me.
So you don't think this will have probably the desired effect, I imagine, is for Marvel fans and Spider-Man fans to shut up about Peter Parker and MJ. Stop asking for them to be married. We gave you a series where they're married, and you can go and enjoy that in your own pocket little universe. Shut up about it. No. Even if it's good and people buy this more than ASM, which I doubt is all that likely, even if that does happen, I don't think it's going to stop people from wanting to see the regular Peter Parker and Mary Jane married again.
No, absolutely not. If anything, it's going to amplify those voices and go and bring even more. The people that stop complaining about it and just stop buying it, you're going to start hearing them renew their objections to it and demand for it to come back. So the actual, if the goal of Marvel here is to get people to shut up by claiming that you satisfied their wants and desires, they've got another thing coming, because this is going to absolutely amplify that voice, and it's amplify that request. Those that stop demanding it will start demanding it again. You're going to wake those sleeping giants back up. If you didn't like the request before, you're going to hate it after this.
The one thing about the series that you have to give Marvel and Will Moss credit for is the creative team on this is so much better than what's on ASM. And ASM is just not very good right now. This week they had like a Rec Rap story. It was Ed McGuinness fucking art. Rec Rap? Are you kidding me? You finally have a really great artist, backing up Patrick Gleason, and you're going to waste him on the special needs Spider-Man character that was created. What a waste. But here you get Jonathan Hickman, clearly a better writer, more in his prime than Zeb Wells. You get Marco Cicchetto. On his best day, is he better than JR? I think that's actually debatable, but certainly Marco Cicchetto is actually in his prime. JR is well past his prime. And I think those things are going to really push this series forward. And this is the must-read Spider-Man book that I've been waiting for since Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man, really from Chip Zdarsky, ended. Although there was a lot of good stuff in Nick Spencer's run, but it was a little uneven.
Look, I'm looking forward to it. Am I going to read it? Actually, probably. I might actually pick this up. Is this going to satisfy my craving? Absolutely not. Am I going to get even more annoying at Marvel Comics to demand the return of the real marriage? Fuck yes, I will. They haven't heard anything until they've heard, hey, look, you're actually giving us what I want. We're buying it. Give us the real fucking thing now. We're not going to shut up about it until you give it to us for real. You could delay the inevitable with this, but we still want it in the real universe.
And I want that too, Doc. I don't want people to get twisted, but I'm happy about this. This is Marvel Comics listening to people. Marvel Comics delivering, an A-tier creative team when they don't have very much of that right now, putting on a title that feels like it probably should matter and give me the story elements that I wanted. So I'm still tingling all over. Doc is more cynical about this than I am. But hey, I'm definitely going to be checking out. We'll be reviewing it here on the channel. I don't know if you'll be a part of that because it probably won't be worst of the week, but we'll definitely talk about it.
Nah, I sincerely doubt it'll hit worst of the week at any point in any issue, unless they have a Rec Rap issue, because, well, that's really fucking stupid.
If you've made it to this part of the video, you're likely a big fan of Doc. I don't know why that is, but it seems like a lot of you and Doc have some type of special connection. And in fact, Doc has 2 podcasts that go up on the Patreon every week. We take this and the comic book review that we're going to do tomorrow, and we do an unfiltered version. Doc's recordings normally take 20 to 25 minutes. The YouTube video is normally 12 to 15 minutes because we cut a bunch of stuff out, whether it be Doc popping off in the mouth or other reasons, just to get it down to the YouTube's preferred length of content. But we also do a Q&A that's 2 hours every single week. If you're a fan of Doc, definitely go check out the Patreon. It's a $20 tier, but it's definitely worth it. You get over 6 hours of brand new content every single week in podcast format. Definitely check that one out. And thank you very much for listening to this.